Good morning. This is the Great Basin Fire Potential Briefing for Thursday, August 22nd. For today, quite a bit of impacts. Starting with the north, we have some isolated dry lightning across the eastern portions of the central Idaho mountains. They'll be exiting out to the east and weakening as the day goes by. We do have some gusty winds near 30 miles per hour across the Snake River Plain, but the humidity level should be above 15% for the most part. It's further south where equally gusty winds will occur with humidity levels below 15% and fuel levels definitely nearer the 90th percentile or even in some cases near record dry levels. Brief break of no significant impacts on Friday, although it will remain seasonably warm and dry. And then another round of winds with another front across the northern tier of Nevada, northwest Utah, and much of the Snake River Plain on Saturday. Humidity levels should be at critically dry levels. Over the past 24 hours on the right, lightning, just a little scattering here just to the northwest of our border, kind of skipped across our central mountains overnight and redeveloped across parts of Montana. Did have a little bit yesterday afternoon across western Wyoming. We'll see how much drying and the day will bring and if any of these come to life. Precipitation on the light side, just a few hundredths of an inch where you see the green through here. A lot of this actually did not even reach the ground. We had light to locally moderate initial attack. A couple of new fires in these larger red circles. Otherwise, red circles indicate new fires in the last 24 hours. Yellow circles indicate recent fire activity. In the last 7 days here on the left, we have been bone dry across the geographic area. Even for the last 14 days, you can pretty much exclude the first shade of blue, which is just a few hundredths of an inch. Only in some of the higher terrain pockets where you see the green do we have a half inch of rain, but most of this was about 10 to 13 days ago, and we have dried since then. And you look at these ERCs, many of these in the reds and dark reds, 80th to 90th percentile, and climbing even 97th percentile or towards it in some of these darker red circles. So everyone's drying out. Now, just as a comparison from the last wet episode we had about 2 weeks ago, these were our fuel conditions 10 days ago in the ERCs, much more benign compared to what we are seeing now. And as you'll see through the 7-day forecast, things will get significantly drier as we head through the weekend into next week. Our 10-hour fuels also equally dry, where you see the red and the dark red, 4%, 3%, even some pockets of 2%, so the grasses can burn very easily. Fuel conditions are ERCs in some of our areas of concern, the mountains of central Idaho. You can see we've bounced back from that recent rain. We are now at normal levels for late August, which is basically the driest time of year. So that's a concern with lightning. Even western Wyoming has dried out. They are drier than normal, higher ERCs than normal, halfway between normal and record, and back to normally high levels across the higher elevations of the southern Sierra front. We'll continue some of our areas of concern where we had some recent large fire activity here in northwest Utah. Our ERCs have jumped well above the normal gray level and are towards record levels and towards the 97th percentile. And the Uinta Basin is just right at record dry levels for this time of year. Similar story in the Arizona Strip with the lack of monsoon activity this year and the unusually dry weather. They are at record dry levels for late August. Satellite imagery shows a deep trough of low pressure pushing in. This will keep the atmosphere unstable. We are worried about thunderstorms firing up this afternoon across the eastern portion of the central mountains of Idaho and maybe some isolated activity further east. Otherwise, these tight height lines indicate stronger winds. So on the right-hand side are significant fire potential, lightning up here in the north. Later this afternoon, maybe some isolated activity further east, but a lot of this will push more into Montana. Gusty winds and low humidity, where you see the orange shade here through much of central and eastern Utah. On the left-hand side, you see the upper level map with that trough of low pressure pushing through the northern portion of our geographic area. On the left-hand side here are the winds. Gusty winds here in the Snake River Plain, although humidity should be somewhat higher. This area in orange through here in the south is where we are concerned with those winds gusting to over 30 combined with low humidity. On the right-hand side, this is what the model is expecting for precipitation this afternoon into this evening. You can see where we have these scatterings of green, we could see lightning, so that's our concern. So we go through the afternoon hours, otherwise dry elsewhere. On Friday, we get a brief break. Moisture moves to the north. Deep monsoonal moisture well to the south. Down in Mexico, drier air poised to come in. The winds diminish, so no high risk, although driest conditions here in the brown and moderately dry here in the yellow. Winds on the left fairly light, just a few gusts, 10 to 20 miles per hour, maybe some locally higher gusts in the south. Otherwise, very light winds, but we will be drying out. Humidity levels in the teens to near 20% in the north, 10 to 15% in the south. Now notice the tight height lines through here. The wind belt increases along with drier air, so we do have high risk for winds and low humidity, where you see the orange shades through here in northern Nevada into much of southern Idaho, and also into western Wyoming as they've dried out. And you see those winds through here in the orange shades gusting near 30 all throughout our northern tier, and even some here in the Uinta Basin. I'll have to watch that. Humidity levels in Idaho will be drying out considerably into the teens. Fuel's already dry. No significant precipitation over the 3-day period other than some scatterings here in the higher terrain where we do have high risk in the first 24 hours. On Sunday, getting a west-northwest flow of drier air pushing in, so we continue with the risk for high winds across our northern areas through here where fuels are critically dry. On Monday, that starts slackening off, but we stay dry. A whole geographic area is a very dry air mass. Notice how the brown areas increase through here, and all areas become critically dry as we go into Tuesday and Wednesday next week. High pressure builds in. We'll have to watch the development of this Four Corners high. Some blips of moisture through here, which could eventually rotate into our southern areas with some scattered lightning over critically dry fuels, but that's well beyond the 7-day period. No significant precipitation expected. 8 to 14-day outlook shows above normal temperatures here on the left, especially the western portion of the Great Basin, and a return of some possibly monsoonal activity, so we could see some thunderstorms through here. Do not expect this to be deep monsoonal moisture, so on the fringes here where we see this first shade of green, we could have enough lightning but not so much rain, so new ignitions and new fires possible if this pattern holds true as we go into the Labor Day period. This concludes our briefing. Have a great day.